What is up again, everybody? We're here with our Dynasty podcast, and today it is March 11th. On the East Coast, it's just turned March 11th. March 10th, free agency's coming up. So for Dynasties, your rosters, you got to make some decisions here about some fringe players. What do you do with them? Do you cut them and pick someone else up? Do you hold on for hope that they do something? That's what we're looking at today. As always, joined by our father, Jeff, and my brother, his son, Brian Ortaco. What's up, guys? How's it going?
Spring forward.
Spring forward if you're in the U.S. Everywhere else, it's not yet. I'm excited for free agency. Getting NFL news, that's super exciting. So CJ Stroud to the Panthers, #1 overall. Anyways, we're going to get into some fringe rostered players, and we're going to start off hot. We're going to start off with a guy who was wide receiver dynasty #1 3 years ago ish, Michael Thomas. What do you do with Michael Thomas? Are you holding on to him, or are you cutting him? Brian, we'll start with you.
Cut him. He's trash. No, no. You don't get rid of him. I guess. Like, it's kind of funny because didn't he tweet something out about when Carr went there, where it's like he's excited about it, and it's like, well, we didn't even think you were going to be on the team, Michael Thomas. So I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't cut him. You hold him. See what happens. But I'm not overly excited about him. I'm not trading for him. That's for sure.
Yeah, so you're stashing him, Dad. What are you doing?
Yeah, for fantasy,
Dynasty.
my word, he's kind of he was at the top of the food chain there just a few years ago, and the past 2 years he's been junk. And
3 years.
Oh, he
He played 2021.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. So I don't know. I don't know if he deserves. Of course, some of these guys can have miraculous comebacks. I know he makes a lot of money with the Saints, so I don't know if he's on my dynasty. I guess I'd find a spot for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For at least one more year, and see if he's going to dork me one more year.
Or half a year, cut him in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
He's the perfect example to why you should always be open to trading guys, because if you just look at his stats, and 2019 was his biggest year where he was, he blew the league away with 150 catches, 1,700 yards. He had his first 4 years were amazing, and he's had less than 600 yards since 2020. So,
and he got rich.
Yeah, and so it's
new contract. Yeah,
should always be open to trading guys. I mean, you never know when these guys just fall off. I'm probably gonna keep him, but he just turned 30 as well. He's not young. He just turned 30 this month, so he's a young 30. But by the time the season starts, he's closer to 31 almost. So. If I did math there right.
That's a good point on the age.
We don't even know what team he's going to be on.
Yeah.
But that could be a good thing.
By the way, he just turned 30 on March 3rd. So.
Yeah. So he's a young 30. But I mean, by the time September rolls around, he's closer to 31 or, Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think I'm keeping him. At least until... Keeping him with a short leash. If he's doing nothing 6 weeks in, he's gone. Take my chances with someone else.
Get him
Jerick McKinnon. He probably won a lot of people some championships because he was a stud. What do you have, 10 receiving? He had the most receiving touchdowns out of any running back last year. I think it was 10 or 9. Won a lot of people in their fantasy leagues.
It's helpful to be on the Chiefs to get the most receiving touchdowns.
Yeah. So what are you doing with him?
So what's his contract situation? And
I guess
honestly, for me, okay. Yeah. A lot of these guys are going to be free agents, like you mentioned. I mean, he's a bit older too, isn't he? Is he
Oh,
like
yeah.
a 30-year-old?
He's 30. He's 30 years
He's
Yeah.
almost 31.
I mean, I think you do like you should with 30-year-old running backs. You just throw him onto the waiver, like
Yeah.
especially
It
if
was
you
a
don't
fluke.
know where he's going to be. I mean, maybe not right this second, but I mean, if you need a roster spot and he's sitting at the end of the roster, I mean, I'd rather have Michael Thomas on my roster than
Oh, yeah.
McKinnon for sure.
I agree. Yeah. It's just funny. Like, it's just so cutthroat, like chew him up and spit him out because he was such a stud from like week 10
That was
on.
a one. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
one-off year. Yeah.
Oh,
And,
for sure. For sure.
last
He was
year,
supposed to be
so-
good. He was supposed to be good 3 years ago,
Yeah, he. I don't have room for him on my roster. So, see you later,
Yeah.
buddy. We have to wait.
especially.
But he's a guy we got to wait and see where he ends up, and unfortunately, where in the playing rotation the guy's going to be playing at and stuff like that. So, but he is 30 years old.
Let's say you don't. Let's say you don't know where he's at. You need to drop someone, and he's one of those fringe guys. You're dropping him, right?
Yeah.
No problem.
I'm looking at his rushing stats right now. He never even had more than 600 yards. He never even had 160 attempts. I mean, I mean, it looks like I'm kind of learning this as we're doing it, but I mean, he was on the Vikings for a number of years, so
yeah, behind Adrian Peterson.
He kind of made himself a name there as a very good RB number 2, and then became a free agent, signed a free agent contract with the 49ers. They think they were expecting, Kyle Shanahan to be able to utilize him and stuff like that. And I think he got hurt, and then it's like adios.
He had I believe, an Achilles after the Vikings in 2017, and then he went to the 49ers in 2020. He didn't play 2018 or 19. So, yeah. All right. Anyways, but I'm cutting him. He's a free agent. There's 10 guys that are coming into the draft that can kind of do what he did last year, So
absolutely.
All right, moving on to I believe another free agent and more of a younger guy, not an older guy, is Irv Smith Jr. I think he was expected to do a lot more this year and kind of didn't do it. Also got hurt. It was a pretty high draft pick, second round out of Alabama, number 50th overall. So round 2 for a tight end is really good. Is a free agent. So what are you guys doing with him? Again, you don't know where he's going to land. Are you cutting him, Dad?
Yeah, because I don't think he's ever going to be where he ends up. He's never going to be more than a second fiddle tight end wherever he ends up. I mean, you could see the Vikings actually they moved on when they traded for Hawkinson. So Irv Smith, he's had a lot. I think as we were talking about before we started the recording, there's always been a lot of hype around the guy. He's had some injuries. He was an Alabama guy. So guys who come out of Alabama are usually, 5-star recruits and stuff. So, sorry, Irv, you're toast.
Yeah.
Brian?
As far as I'm concerned, with him, I'm kind of looking at his stats and the one thing that he has 2 things going for him, I guess, like the age and also kind of like the hype. Like I feel like we've been waiting for Irv Smith to be good for like his entire career, basically. But I mean, nothing's happened. Like I mean, he has I have his stats right here. Like he's never caught more than 36 passes was his rookie year. It looks like. I'm not sure why. Like I'm not seeing 2021, so like maybe he missed that entire year.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, he was injured.
Yeah, And he's never even broken 400 yards. So it's kind of like why are you keeping him, kind of a thing. And I think what it is like he's young and he's a tight end, kind of a thing. And obviously, like, tight ends are, they're kind of a dime a dozen, but if you have a good one, then you know the benefit of it. So
And
I could definitely. What's
don't
that?
forget the draft, the rookie NFL draft is very
Right.
tight end heavy. So
Right. So definitely bottom of the roster sort of guy. Like, I would rather have Michael Thomas than him, but I'd rather have him over Jerick McKinnon, just to keep like ranking these guys as we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely cuttable, because there's kind of what you just said, Mike, about there's 10 other guys in the draft that can do the same thing as McKinnon. I think there's 10 other guys at least, as far as tight ends go, that you could probably pick up off waivers or get for basically nothing from another person's roster that'll do the same thing.
Yeah. But like you said, he does have the benefit of he's 24 years old, was a second round pick, highly touted. Like, he's going to get a chance to do something, to win a job, to win a starting job. So, we'll see. But I'm going to cut him. I'm cutting him. All right. Next up, we have DJ Shark, another free agent. DJ Shark, he had one good year and hasn't done much since then. Is there any room on your roster for DJ Shark? He is 26 years old. He'll be 27 basically beginning of the season. Again, one good year. He had 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, and not much else. What are you doing with DJ Shark, Ryan?
I'd hold him, I guess. Like he's like, I know, like, the whole exercise we're kind of doing right now is kind of like, like, do I really want these guys, kind of a thing? But I mean, he's quick, like, so, like, I think there's room. I'd probably rather have him, I guess, than Irv Smith. I think he'd be a little bit harder to find, like, a replacement for him on the waivers. I'd say he's a borderline cut, kind of. Definitely not someone that I'm, like, attached to, but not someone that I want to let go necessarily.
Yeah. Okay. Dad, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, I'd keep him. He just came from the Lions for 1 year. He had his second half. Excuse me?
I said boo, Lions.
Yeah, well, he had a good second half of the year. He kind of had a rough start because an ankle injury that he had in his last year in Jacksonville was still giving him problems. So he had to do some time on the IR list, but second half he started to show up. He's a stretch to field guy. He's tall, lanky, and he runs deep, medium, and deep patterns and stuff. The age alone, definitely would keep him. Kind of hope he ends up on a decent team where they can utilize him and stuff. But I'd keep him.
Yeah, I do think it is important to note that it also really depends on what kind of dynasty league you're in. There's, start 9, start 10, start 11. To me, DJ Shark is like, I think most people are in kind of a 12 team, start 10 or 11. And I think if you're starting like 11 or 12 guys, I think there's a place for DJ Shark in a 12 team league. But like in our league, for example, where it's 10 teams, start 10, I don't think there's a place for him. I think he's a better asset to an NFL team in real football than he is in fantasy with his speed. I just don't see how you have to be doing pretty poorly unless you're trying to tank to say, oh, I'm starting DJ Shark, more than once or twice this next year. So he's one of those, kind of on the same page with you guys. Like, depends on how deep your dynasty leagues are, but any type of 10 team, start 10, start 11, I think I'm cutting them.
Yeah.
All right.
If I had to, I would start Michael Thomas over him. So
You keep Michael Thomas. Yeah.
no,
Okay,
I'm
fair
saying
enough.
start.
Oh, start him. Yeah.
Yeah, actually starting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it's standard, he's better than standard because he's, again, big touchdown, big play guy. But
Yeah.
another
That's why you
receiver, I
lose
think.
all the time.
I think you're talking about me.
Brian.
Oh,
What's that?
I said that's why you lose all the time.
Hey, I beat you at least once.
Yeah, sure.
It's true. Michael Gallup, next on the list. I'm going to start here. Man, this is hard. I guess I'm going to keep him, but like, I was never really a huge Michael Gallup fan. I knowing where we are now, I guess I'm going to keep him. But I really, really think Dallas is going to get another weapon. They're going to get another receiver relatively high in the draft or in free agency. And I think if that happens, like, Gallup is gone. I just don't think, 3 receivers plus what the running backs are going to do for Dallas, that third receiver is going to be much. So I'm cutting him. I know he had a good year in 2019, which seems like ages ago. But other than that, he's been pretty average to below average. Was coming off a major injury. I'll give him that. But I'm cutting him, thinking that Dallas is going to bring someone in. What about you, Dad? What are you doing with Mr. Michael Gallup?
Yeah, I think last year he was still recovering from his injury, and I think he only started. I guess he played in most of the games, 14, but yeah, he definitely wasn't like he was the couple of years before that. So I don't know. I'm not cutting him. I'm keeping him. So the age is a little factor again. He's 27, and he's still relevant right now.
Okay.
I'd like to see if he has a comeback year, whatever. But
Good offense.
I'm keeping him. Yeah.
Brian?
Yeah, honestly, like when it comes to him, like, he's definitely a guy who the NFL has told me he's more valuable than what I've seen in fantasy. I mean, like, the Cowboys, they paid him what, last year or before last year, whatever they did, like,
Yeah.
so they believe something in him, but honestly, like, I haven't really seen it. And like, the way the Cowboys seem to be trending is they're going to go even more run heavy than they were. So it's kind of like what, like, where does he fit in? I guess, like, when am I actually going to start him? Like, maybe at the very bottom of the roster, or like of your roster. I mean, like, you hold on to him, but I'd be okay with moving on from him. I'd rather keep Chark. I'd basically keep anyone else besides McKinnon over him.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily cutting him just to make room. I don't know. Yeah, he's a tough one, but
I was going to ask Shark or Gallup. Who you keeping?
Yeah, I'd
said
take Chark. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd keep him. Yeah. Just I just don't know what, like, I feel like he's gonna be on the Cowboys. Dad, you mentioned, like, you think, or was it you, Mike, that mentioned you think that the Cowboys are actually going to do something relatively high. I mean, they just got a rookie last year who we didn't see anything from. So
Yeah.
like, maybe that's kind of a sign, like, that he wasn't good, or I don't know. Like, there was obviously issues with the Cowboys last year, but I don't know. I'm not super excited to have a receiver, like, besides CeeDee Lamb, like, on my roster from the Cowboys.
Yeah. But it is worth noting that maybe there's a good chance Dalton Schultz isn't there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I think they're going to make a move. Another guy, running back this time though, under contract, Gus Edwards for the Ravens. What are we doing, Dad, with Gus Edwards, who's going to be 28 here soon? What are you doing with him?
Yeah. If he's on the Ravens, I'm keeping him because he seems like he fits with that team, and they seem to use him enough, to make it interesting. But he's not going to be one of my main fantasy starters. But if I got to plug him in for a week or two, I'm not overly disappointed about that. He last year he was coming back from an injury. He started to look like the old Gus Edwards, in the second half of the year. But of course, Lamar has to be there though to make him and Dobbins relevant. All three of them together.
Let's say he is. Let's say Lamar is.
Yeah, I'm assuming. Then I'm keeping Gus Edwards.
Dad, I am looking at. I guess he just agreed just today to contract stuff with the Ravens, so it looks like he's going to be there.
Gus Edwards?
No, Gus. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
I'm just saying because you mentioned like if he's going to be on the Ravens, so it looks like he's going to.
See the Ravens. That just goes back to what I say. The Ravens appreciate him. They know how to use him, and he fits that team. If he goes somewhere else, he goes to Miami or Tampa Bay or some other Nimrod team. He's not gonna look like Gus Edwards. I think.
What if he goes to the Broncos?
No,
I'm not. I get why. I understand why everyone thinks Ravens running back must be good, but I just don't. There's not a lot of proof that that's true. There was one guy who had a good fantasy year, really good fantasy year with Lamar and the Ravens, and that was Mark Ingram in 2019. And basically, the only reason why is because he caught 5 touchdown passes, which was crazy because he only caught 25 passes the whole year. So it was kind of he had 15 touchdowns. Combined, and that was basically the only thing that pushed him. I'm just not huge on like Ravens running backs and them being like. I understand that the team as a whole is good at running, but I don't know. To me, I'm cutting Gus Edwards. I don't. There's nothing like I'm excited. I'm not excited to have him on my team. He's on the wrong side of the age threshold. He's going to be 28. So
there could be a new look Ravens offense because they have a new offensive coordinator. So what they were doing before might not be doing what they do now. Gus Edwards doesn't have a lot of mileage on his tires, so there's still some tread there, and he's still relevant. But I'm keeping him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Brian, what do you do?
I'd lean towards cut. Honestly, like, just going through the list a little bit, like I'd rather. Shit. I'm just thinking about Michael Gallup. Like, would I rather have Gus Edwards or Michael Gallup? I definitely rather have Chark, Michael Thomas, and Irv Smith over Edwards. I don't know. Like he's at the very, very bottom. Again, like he's kind of like one of those guys. Like he's done nothing to like not like he's done nothing to lose his job. Like he's good at what he does, but kind of on what you're saying, Mike. It's like what's the actual value there? I don't know. Like I'd probably cut him.
Also keep in mind, again, this running back class is loaded, so you have to keep that in the back of your head. Like we're not going to know are the Ravens going to take a guy or not. But you kind of have to lean towards they're going to find someone in the mid and late rounds, and probably going to be a good player that can do what Gus Edwards can do and is younger and
Yeah.
better. But,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I'd say he's older Brian Robinson, basically.
yeah. Fair enough.
He's not going to catch at all. Like, he's
Yeah.
going to be on a run heavy team. He'll get if he does stay on the Ravens, which it sounds like he will. Like, yeah, he'll get 12 attempts. He'll break one off every fourth game or something. Yeah, no, I got to cut him.
Yeah. All right, we got 4 more. I had to remove Mecole Hardman from our list because we're at 11, not 10. So next on our list, interesting guy for me at least, is Isaiah McKenzie, who I believe is still under contract with the Bills. I need to double check that. But Brian, what are you doing with Isaiah McKenzie, who had a lot of hype going into this year? A bit of hype, I'd say. What do you
he was like one of the big acquisitions in our free agency process before the season started. Like, it seemed like, he's going to be the new Cole Beasley, basically, right? Like, yeah, he's going to get 150 targets. He's going to catch 100 of them, and like he's not going to light it up or anything, but totally good as a flex guy. And we just didn't see that. It didn't help that the Bills actually brought back Cole Beasley. But I don't really know his history. Like, how old is he? Like, can you guys fill me in on that
27.
a little bit? Like, where he's been before? Has he always been on the Bills?
He'll be 28 in about a month, less than a month.
Okay.
He started off in Denver, played 1 year year and a half in Denver, and then went to Buffalo in 2018. So
I'd keep him over Gallup and Chark. I'd basically keep him over everyone on the list that we've talked about so far, besides Michael Thomas. Yeah. Like, I think that's kind of like a toss up there, just given the situation. Yeah.
Yeah. He should be on the team. They could get out of it, but like, he's only a $2.5 million cap hit. So it's almost like might as well keep him unless they just don't have room for him. But Dad, Isaiah McKenzie, what are you doing?
Nah. I'm not feeling it. I'm not. He's just like Brian said, he was supposed to be the new slot guy and everything else, and in Buffalo, and it didn't. Just kind of didn't happen. And was it his fault? Probably not. So I don't know. Got to move on.
It must have been partially his fault, at least. Like, they had someone else too. Like, who else was catching passes out of the slot there?
Crowder.
Crowder. Yeah,
they had Crowder and Khalil Shakir for one game when both those guys were out.
Yeah. So that position is obviously not locked up. Like, you think like, oh, slot guy on the Bills, awesome. I'm gonna do this, and but I mean, they brought on Crowder last year, right? So they obviously like, that's not one guy's job. That's everyone's job, kind of a thing.
I think Shakir's he's a younger, more athletic slot guy anyway. So
yeah,
I agree. I'm the only reason I would keep him is because his nickname is Lil Dirty. I just found that out. So it's the only reason why I'd be keeping him. But Lil Dirty, not little, Lil Dirty.
No shit.
But yeah, I'm in agreement. No apostrophe, just LIL.
No, I'm cutting him then for that.
Okay, fair enough. We got 3 more, and they're all receivers. One of them we just had news. I believe it happened today. These days run together sometimes, but Adam Thielen was cut today, right? That happened today?
Yes.
I think that was today, yeah.
Yeah.
Thielen, I'll start. He's gone. I'm not keeping him. He hasn't been – I think people overrate him a little bit. I don't know if it's for necessarily – it's his story of, he's a undrafted guy, and he had a couple good years. We're talking about 2017 and 18 now of his really, really good years. Then he had a couple good touchdown years, but he's 32.
That's what I was going to say. It was all in the back of touchdowns, wasn't it, basically?
The last Yeah, the last three. I mean, he had a 14, 10, and then 6 this last year. So he's going to be 33, and well, about when the season starts. I'm kind of bad. What about you?
Yeah, he's out of there. As a matter of fact, he's on my team, so I'm gonna have a hard, especially now. I thought for sure this last year in Minnesota, and I still think he had 70 catches and stuff like that. But yeah, his time's done. He had 9 years in the NFL. Nice story, undrafted guy from the state of Minnesota. Couple good
Yeah.
years. It's like, no, you're out of here, pal.
Yeah.
Went to a small school. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows where he's going to end up? As
So he'll
far as
end
on
up.
an NFL, as
He'll
far as
end
an
up
NFL,
somewhere. Yeah, sorry. He'll end up somewhere.
like the
What,
Texans.
no. I think he's going to end up with like a Mahomes or an Allen, and people are going to help hype him the hell up, and then he's just going to
Yeah.
put up 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. I guarantee that's what's
Yeah.
going to happen. He's going to go to a Mahomes, Allen, something like that. Brian, what are you doing with Thielen?
I'm not drafting him in redraft for sure. So, like, even with my
Oh no,
16th round pick, like, I'd rather just grab another tight end. I don't know what I would do with him besides trade him for nothing. Basically, I would definitely cut him. Yeah, like the touchdowns aren't going to be there. It's I hope he does go to the Chiefs and someone does draft him.
Yeah. I mean, the guy had his run, like you said. Good story. Allen Robinson, good old Allen Robinson. Brian, I'm gonna let you start because you got burned by him. Well, one of them wasn't your fault, but then last year was your fault for taking him. But then you were able to trade off of him. But what are you doing with Allen Robinson if he's on your dynasty team? He is 20. He'll be 30 before the season starts. I think he's still under contract with the.
Well, I think yesterday or maybe it was today that the Rams said like, oh, they've given permission to Allen Robinson to start seeking a trade, and it's like, all right, well, I don't think that's gonna happen. Like
too big of a cap hit.
Yeah, like he's definitely like a guy. Like it's funny because like I did get burned by him the last 2 years. Even like for where I took him, and it's kind of like, well, he can't be worse than this, right? Like, I mean, I don't know if last year was really all his fault or if it was all the Rams' fault or a little bit of both, kind of a thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure he got a ton of red zone targets, or maybe not a ton, but like a decent amount, like percentage wise, like. It seemed like Stafford was looking for him in the red zone. So I don't think I would cut him. I definitely, I don't want to start him, honestly. But, I mean, I would keep him if he's going to be on the Rams still and they're going to try and run it back, like be healthy and everything. Like, I'd keep him. And I mean, like if you're starting him, he's got to be like your second flex or your flex in a wide receiver 3 league, like so wide receiver 4, just on the chance that he's going to get a touchdown, I guess.
Yeah. Dad, what are you doing?
Boy, I have him too on my team. So, as a matter of fact,
how'd you finish last year?
Yeah, not very well. The team or Allen Robinson?
Your team.
Not very well, and but it looked like a natural fit, but him going to the Rams, but just didn't work out, and maybe the dude, he can't get open. I think that's honestly the problem, that he can't get open anymore like he used to, and he's not the guy that he used to be. So but I'm hanging on. I'm hanging on to him, just to see what happens.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'm a glutton for punishment, but I think out of everyone that we've talked about so far, I'd keep him, and I don't have a good reason for that, honestly. Like it's
Over Michael
between him and
Thomas?
Michael Thomas. Yeah, like it's
Oof,
between
I'd keep
those
Michael
two.
Thomas.
But I mean, I don't know, man. Like I just I don't know. Everything stays
I
exactly the way it is, like team makeup and everything. It's like uh I'd probably keep Robinson over Michael Thomas if I had to.
oh yeah, I'm
They're
definitely
kind
keeping
of the same
Thomas, but
guy. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm saying definitely keeping Thomas. Same age, and I mean we've seen more from Thomas, but I understand like the hesitancy of you keeping Robinson. I guess I'd keep him just to see, like you said, are the Rams going to be able to bring anyone in? Do they don't have a lot of draft picks, a lot of money? I don't know.
Yeah. So
I guess I'm going to
who
keep
do you
him,
think
but
who do you think's going to be better, the Rams or the Saints this year coming up?
Oh, the
well, I don't think Michael
Saints.
Thomas is going to be on the Saints. I think the
Well,
Rams
just
are going to
like I
be
said,
better,
like
but
if everything, yeah, I think the Saints, or sorry, I think the Rams are going to be better.
I think.
yeah,
Dad, you
but
said
that
Saints.
doesn't.
Yeah.
But also, I don't necessarily think. I think another lesson to be learned in fantasy, and teaching lessons here, is we overrate what team players go to sometimes or get drafted by, and just like automatically assume like, oh, MVS is on the Chiefs, he's gonna be a beast, and it's like, no, he did exactly what he's shown, like what he's
Yeah,
shown
he
he
was what he
is,
was. Yeah,
almost to the T, like 600, almost 700 yards, 50 plus, 15 yards or more yards per reception, 2 touchdowns. That's literally what he did in the first 4 years in Green Bay. Like, we got to kind of like believe, okay, yeah, where they go does matter for sure, but you also have to be good. You still have to be good, and like
yeah,
we have 2 years now of Allen Robinson putting up pathetic numbers, and he's started 10 and 11 games. He started 21 games the last 2 years combined, and he has not even 800 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like,
yeah,
I am going to keep him, but I'm not happy about it. That's for sure. I'm going to try and trade him
yeah.
if I can somehow.
Like it's funny too because like they're in very similar situations as far as like good enough quarterbacks, um, like like not a whole lot around them, like besides like the receiver in front of them, kind of a thing. Like you don't think like, all right, like oh they got a good tight end, like they have a good run game, kind of a thing. Like going into this year, anyways, like assuming Kamara is not going to be there for the Saints, and it's like, all right, well, the Rams have Cam Akers. It's kind of like, I mean, I can see him being productive, especially if he gets the touchdowns. Like that's kind of why I think the Rams are going to be better than the Saints. So
Yeah,
I think
we'll see.
he'll have more touchdown opportunity.
We will. Yeah, we'll see.
You want to
But
put a wager on that?
Yeah, I'll bet you Irv Smith for Allen Robinson.
there you
Talk
go.
about monetary.
Money. Last guy, your buddy, Dad, Odell Beckham Jr. What are you doing if you have Odell Beckham Jr. on your team
He's
right
a punk.
now?
Yeah, he's a punk.
What are you doing? He is
Um,
30 years old. And yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think he's not gonna have this. He's not a wide receiver one anymore.
No,
I
he
mean,
hasn't
in the
been for a
right
while.
situation, yeah, in the right situation, he'll complement your good team like he did with the Rams and all that other stuff. But geez, in the wrong situation. So let's say he signed with Dallas and he was with Gallup and CeeDee Lamb and those guys. That might work out pretty well, you know. But if he gets,
So you're keeping him.
yeah, I'm keeping him.
Yeah. What were you gonna say if he
keeping him.
gets what?
Well, let's say he ended up on the Saints, and he's wide receiver 2, next to Chris Olave and stuff like that. Yeah, he's probably not going to do too well.
Fair enough. I will say, so do we think, before I get to you, Brian, his last good year, healthy year was 2019. He put up, 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was wide receiver 26 and half PPR. Do we think he can get back to those numbers, or is that but he can go beyond those numbers, or he's never going to sniff that again? Because he was with those numbers, he was wide receiver 26. So, Brian, what do you think about that, and what are you doing with Odell?
Yeah, I mean, wide receiver 26 without any touchdowns, basically, that's not bad. It's kind of funny that we're talking about him right after Allen Robinson, because they're kind of, Robinson basically took Odell's job because he was hurt, basically, kind of a thing. Not that they play the same or anything, but I'm definitely I'm interested in. I mean, if I had to choose between him and Allen Robinson, I'd rather keep Robinson, which isn't saying a whole lot, honestly, because at least we kind of know what Allen Robinson's situation is. But I mean, it's going to depend on landing spot for him. If he does end up somewhere, what if he went to now that Thielen's gone, what if he went to the Vikings? I could see that working out. What's that?
Still cutting them. I'm still cutting them. People forget, people forget he went to the Rams in 2021 and they were a Super Bowl winning team. They weren't scrubs, and everyone's like, "Oh, I think he was very important for the Rams," but he had 300 yards and 5 touchdowns in 7 starting game, 8 games starting 7. He didn't blow. He was a wide receiver 29 over that stretch. I don't know. He's had 2 ACLs, and I'm cutting. I'm moving on. That's it.
I totally get that too. But again, you just said, wide receiver 29, right? So I mean, in the league that we play in, we play 3 receiver, or no, is it 2? I think it's 2 receiver, but 2 flex. It's I think he's still startable to a certain extent, and to the same, you definitely need the touchdown, but again, it kind of depends on landing spot. I mean, if he goes to the Chiefs, are you still
No.
the same thing you're saying about MBS? You're just kind of
yes,
yeah, just kind of all right, nothing, kind of
I'm not gonna overrate any team he goes to, because he's not going to be the main guy. So he's just. I think if his name wasn't Odell Beckham Jr., we'd be cutting him. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Another.
So sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say another good example. We talked about Michael Thomas. Don't just be completely closed off. Nope, no way I'm trading Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. These guys, Thomas and Odell Beckham, were Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, their first 3-4 years in the league. And then they went to hardly, Beckham, not as big of a fall off, but, then they fell very far after their 4th year, both of them. So,
yeah.
What were you going to say?
So out of these, all these guys that we just talked about, let's say it's your second flex spot, who are you starting out of all of these guys? Because I have my answer. I don't know. What do you think, Dad? Assuming everything stays exactly the same, Beckham, we'll just take him off the list because he's not even on a team. But everything stays exactly the same.
I'd start Gallup or Gus.
I'm doing Michael Thomas. like I guess it's hard to say who am I going to start because a lot of these are free agents as well. But like, let's say I had to choose. Let's say I had to choose between these 10 guys on who to cut, or no, I can only keep one and cut the rest. I'm keeping Michael Thomas and cutting the other 9 that we talked about. But
just go back to what you said about less than 5 minutes ago about what Michael Thomas has shown, and you know, what do they say? The stripes on the zebra don't change or something.
mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's exactly. I'm not.
Yeah, I think it's less about what he hasn't shown and more he's been injured. Whereas like the other guys, it's like we have seen what Beckham has been doing. You know, I know he was injured last year, but you know, like I saw him with the Rams and he was good for the Rams and important for their Super Bowl run. But like, yeah, he was again the wide receiver 29. Like, that's not someone I want on my team. You know, so I guess I'm just keeping Thomas because I'm banking on can he hasn't had a healthy season since he was the wide receiver 1 in 2019. And I'm hoping maybe he can get back to a little bit of that. So who are you keeping or starting, Brian?
So I feel like Jerick McKinnon is kind of like the cheat version of like the answer where it's like, oh, well, he's on the Chiefs and we saw like how they used him. But honestly, like, wait, no, yeah, but I'm saying like if everything stayed exactly the same, you know, Chark still in the Lions and all that good shit. I would say honestly, I'd start again. I guess I really hate myself, and this is why I keep losing at fantasy. I'd start fucking Allen Robinson, like I would, like over all these guys, like given their situation and everything, like
yeah.
This
is there's a lot of guys on here. Not all of them, but you know, Robinson, Beckham, you know, it shows you to like you want to trade almost like a year early, not a year late, because you know maybe you're trading them and they're still good and they're good for another year, but you can't get shit for them now, you know, like So, but
yeah, the only reason, again, just to reiterate too about Robinson, it's like there was a lot of red zone looks, like when the Rams thought they can get touchdowns, I guess.
yeah,
I don't know. That's the only reason I would start, because all of these guys are touchdown or bust, basically. So,
yeah. Well, hopefully that helps a little bit. We're going to wrap it up. And we'll be back next week, probably looking at, again, a lot of the free agency stuff. We're putting out some rookie prospects. We're looking at rookie prospects. We've done a couple quarterback videos. We'll be releasing wide receivers next, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll